Hello, my name is Fraser Simons, and I'm going to be talking about Tim Johnston's The Current, which is a thriller crime mystery novel about the events in a small town. Two young women are driving in the winter after being accosted by these two guys that would probably have sexually assaulted them. They managed to get away with some pepper spray. They hurriedly drive off. They go over a bridge into the ice of a river. They get swept up in the current. One comes out alive, and it is her story from which we learn the present. Then there's also the story of 10 years ago, a similar young woman. All of these people are high school students, and similarly, she died. She got swept up into the current, and the mystery around that never really coalesced. There's a young boy who's blamed, but there's some doubt as to what actually happened, and he's still roaming free, so the town dislikes this guy. He comes back into town 10 years later, so is he the killer? He's a suspect, of course. There's just all these disparate threads being woven together. The structure of the book flips back and forth between these 10 years ago and present day all of the time. It's a very literary book in the sense of the structure not holding your hand. It's very evocative, descriptive prose, almost to the point of purple prose sometimes. It does get in the way from time to time, but most of the time I would say that it's pretty great. The writing, including the economy and the especially verb choice and diction and metaphors that are employed, seem pretty first rate to me. The actual stylistic approach is somewhat like Sally Rooney in the sense that there is no quotation marks used. So the flow is primarily what you're looking at. I tried it on audiobook as well, and it sounds great to me. I just really jibe with the voice in the book, so I had no complaints. But if you are a big fan of this genre and you don't know that it's literary fiction, you might be let down because you're going to be expecting, for one, genre conventions that are not present. It doesn't work like a slow burn or even fast burn thriller type of book. It is always more interested in character work. What the characters are doing really affects the plot, and it's not super concerned. Like, obviously it wants to get you to a place at the end where you're aware of all of the events that took place and who is responsible for them, but it's primarily looking at the inhabitants of the town, the actual victims, the perpetrators, but also every different member of the town, how the events 10 years ago affects them and how the events of current day affect them, and the correlations between the two, how they live their lives, how they've socialized their children from the 10 years past, and where they're at now, how that trauma affected them, and just the fallout around it. It ends up jumping around to a lot of different characters. It isn't afraid to jump into a paragraph that's 10 years ago, not tell you about it, and just start writing without putting a subject in the paragraph for a little while. And just really, in terms of not holding your hand, it really doesn't. I really like that because it ends up engaging your brain. You're already reading a mystery and a crime novel, and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and then the structure is continually propelling that, and it's kind of like a cat and mouse game, even structurally, between the novel and the reader in some ways. So I found it really fascinating. I thought it was great, even though male crime thrillers like this tend to be male-gazy. It tends to be a little bit grotesque, maybe over-sexualized. None of that's present in this book. I thought it was very well handled, even though there is potential sexual assault and other situations like that. It's not gratuitous, it's not shock value, it's not commercial fiction at all. It is capital L literary fiction, and I liked everything about it except for, as I said before, the purple prose is a little bit too much just from time to time. And then structurally, even though it was literary and a mystery, the pacing does get hit, I would say. It still is worth it because you end up learning about so many people in the town and the effects, especially the interrogation of institutional misogyny, institutional responsibility, who is drawn to play authority figures in the community, who is culpable and to what degree, and what kind of agency women have and young women is, it's all put under a lens and looked at from multiple perspectives instead of just like a fast-hitting thriller that's like a new chapter every couple pages. Although it does mimic that sometimes, it doesn't get the momentum of the pages being turned very quickly because you're realigning the events after every time that you skip to a different chapter. It's not chronological whatsoever. It's jumping back and forth all the time. It's different characters. There's not a lot of different characters. You're never really super lost as to who each person is and what the events are. It does a good job of lining up events that draw connections from past and present, even though it's skipping between the two quite often. So I thought it was just exceptionally well done, and if the pacing had just been a little bit tweaked and if there was a little bit more economy of prose, it probably would have been a 5-star read for me. But as is, I think I put it as a 4-star read, but something that I highly recommend if you like literary fiction, which just so happens to have a mystery and a crime situation in it. It's definitely not genre fiction. Can't stress that enough. Have you read the current or other Tim Johnston books? I'm told this is not his sort of most well-known book. So if you've read him, recommend me a book by him. I'll definitely jump into something else he's written. Hopefully he's got other things to the same quality or even higher. I really like his authorial voice, his prose, his style, and his craft in general, so I'm excited about that. It's always nice to discover a new author that you like. I think that'll do it for me. My name is Fraser Simons. Leave whatever comments you'd like, and feel free to add me on Goodreads. All my information is in the description. Hit me up on Twitter whenever you feel like, and I'll see you next video. Bye.